What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. Welcome, in fact, to PCP Movie Night. I am your host, Rockin Robbie Bills, and we are in the midst. We are now in week 2 of Horrorfest 2023, and tonight we're going to be talking about our very first Hammer classic. I don't think we've ever done a Hammer film, but tonight we're talking about 1972 or 1974, depending on if you count when it was produced versus when it was released. But we're talking about the movie from the 70s from Hammer Films, Captain Kronos, Vampire Hunter, which I absolutely adore. This movie, it's one of my favorite Hammer films. It's not one of the most popular ones, but I got to thank Two Gun Pedro for sending me this t-shirt, and I got to rock it tonight. And of course, we can't have Horrorfest without a slam bang panel of guests, including the one and the only, the man, the myth, the legend behind Go Figure Reviews. It's Jelani. What is up, my dude?
Station, brother. Good to be here, man. Crazy movie we're watching.
Yeah. Horrorfest is just the most wonderful time of the year, and it's always cool to hang out with the homies and discuss some horror films and have these watch-along parties and shit, man. Have so much fun with this. Now, you're the only other person on the panel who has seen this movie before, so everybody else, this is a first-time watch. And the biggest surprise for me was this was the first-time watch for the man, the myth, the legend behind Scarpad's Domain. It's Scarpad. What is up, my dude?
Well, that's true. This is the first time I've ever seen this movie, but I love me a Hammer movie, and we'll talk about it. No vampires in this one, was there? I guess there was.
There could be many different types of vampires, as many as there are birds of. He doesn't say birds of prey. He says beasts of prey. That's what he says. Speaking of
it's Hammer time, baby. Hammer time. Let's go.
Speaking of Hammer time and a beast of prey, it's Dylan from Dylan's Horror Show. Bruh, I feel like you haven't been on this channel in like decades, man. Where you been? How you doing?
Just working, man. Working like a slave. You know how
we're all working, but at least we're getting paid for it.
You'll see, man. They never let you do shit.
Labor Day, man. Labor Day.
Yeah. Work on Labor Day. I love your shirt. I like the shirt, bro.
Yeah, dude. Wait, you talking to me or Scarpad?
Oh, you. But Scarpad's shirt is dope too. Fright Right?
Yeah. Two Gun Pedro sent me this.
Kronos shirt, so.
Two Gun, man. He can find those hard to find shirts.
Two Gun always, he just knows the guy who screen prints them probably, but like Two Gun's super cool because he always sends me like a care package for Horrorfest and for March Madness. There's always a t-shirt in it and usually some movies. And he was asking me, he's like, dude, do you own Captain Kronos Vampire Hunter on Blu-ray? And I'm like, of course I do. It's one of my favorite films of all time, but he sent me the t-shirt. But speaking of t-shirts, I went to this dude's house one time and I didn't even get a t-shirt for it. It was Brooks. What is up, Brooks? How you doing, man?
What's up?
It's always good to have you here and your very elaborate introductions that you like to do.
Of course. You know, there are more dangerous things out tonight than vampires, man.
Oh yeah, like what?
Like me.
You mean like me? I'm Captain Kronos.
Like me, mate. Captain Kronos.
Actually, Captain Kronos is German, which is funny because the guy who plays him is German. However, they redubbed him with a British guy doing a German accent. How fucking weird. Speaking of weird stretches, it's Mike. What is up, our homie?
What's up? Sorry for the confusion. You sent me the Met link to a non-normal spot. So,
all right. Well, thanks for breaking kayfabe. You see, nobody watching the show knew that you were late whatsoever. Anything that had happened. So thanks for
I called myself out.
Thanks for making it slightly awkward, but that's all right. All right. So we're gonna.
You got me for.
We're going to be talking about Captain Kronos, Vampire Hunter. First time watch for everybody here, except for me and Jelani. I love this film. I first watched this film. You remember back when AMC used to do, I think they called it Monster Fest, right? And it's kind of like where I came up with the idea, well, we should call our horror movie watching during Halloween time Horrorfest. And we've been doing Horrorfest for a long time. I love this time of the year for my Facebook memories because I always see Horrorfest watchings and viewings and stuff from back in 2008, 2007. We've been doing this for a long time. It's just been official here on PCP for a few years. But I have a lot of fun doing this stuff. So what I used to do back in the day is whenever there would be these horror marathons around Halloween time is I would get my VHS player, I would get it going and I would get it set on extended play and be able to record 6 hours on one VHS. And I would record days and evenings worth of horror films on TV being played, like on Turner Classic Movies and on AMC in particular. Back when they weren't just like, they just played movies. Anyway, so I remember one time this popped up on one of those VHSs, and I was like, oh, it's a Hammer film. So it's like Horror of Dracula or Curse of Frankenstein or Curse of the Werewolf or something like that. And I put it in and I watch it, and I'm actually absolutely transfixed because at this time, it's like late 90s, early 2000s. I'm in my late teens, early 20s, and I am very familiar with Blade the Vampire Hunter. I'm very familiar with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, right? But I am not familiar with Captain Kronos. And I watch it, and I really, really appreciated this film because we talked about this when we talked about the Halloween franchise, and when we talk about things like Hills Have Eyes and stuff like that. Horror films that take place during the day and are still got like some kind of element of creepiness to them. I really appreciate that. A lot of this film is taking place during the day. I love all of that. But I love how it's taking the vampire lore and mythology and twisting it a little bit. And yes, the main character, the title character, is a weed-smoking, sex-fiending, cool-ass leeching motherfucker named Captain Kronos, who I absolutely love. I love that this movie is trying to do something different. Maybe not always to the most success, but for the most part, pretty rock on for me. What about you, Jelani? You watched this for the first time last year, I believe. What do you think about Captain Kronos, Vampire Hunter? And you out there in the chat, thank you so much. Please join it.
Absolutely, man. And I enjoyed this movie. I really liked it a lot. I was very surprised because I watched it randomly. It was a random occurrence. I was watching a bunch of Amazon things, and it was in my like in the Amazon list, like the preferred list, because I watched so many horror movies during that time. And like this one popped up, and it was just a guy with a bunch of ladies around him. And I was like, all right, I'm in. So then I turned around and watched the movie, and there's like one lady, and then there are a whole bunch of ladies that happened in the movie, but like he's not getting one. He only has one. There's one primarily as Caroline Munro. She was a Bond girl. She was in The Spy Who Loved Me, and she's amazing. Like took my breath away. And I was like, all right, she's pretty hot. But the story itself, it's wild because it's like he's a vampire hunter, but he hunts different types of vampires. Like he hunts all kinds. And apparently, like the vampires in this movie don't fit the rules of a vampire. And I thought that was intriguing. And I was like, okay, well, I guess, you do see certain things like that, but I've never seen this concept the way that they're presenting it. Like this vampire steals beauty and youth, from someone and like drains their life force because of the beauty. And I was like, okay, that's pretty cool.
Kind of like Toby Hooper's life force.
Yep, just like Toby Hooper's life force.
With way less nudity, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, way less. And but it's like I'm kind of surprised it's rated R because it shouldn't be. It's just one of those films that like shouldn't have passed that test. And it's really cool. I really liked it. The set design's pretty cool. I like the old time sets. I like the old time bar where the three guys come in and like totally they're just assholes and they're paid to be assholes to the hunchback guy. That's the professor. That's his like sidekick. And
Crossed.
Kronos crossed. He did, and Kronos just takes them out. It's so clean. There's just so many little like cool scenes in it, and like all the tricks that they use to try and catch the vampire, the frogs in the boxes and all that stuff. It's just a quirky movie.
If a vampire should be trod upon the grave of a toad, like,
Yeah.
like what the fuck?
What?
And
You
one of
put a
the
bunch
cool
of
things
dead
about
toads
this
out.
movie is the idea that there are different types of vampires. And so, like, one of my favorite scenes is when they're trying to kill that one dude. They're trying to figure out what to do. They stake him, and he just screams in pain, but he's
Right.
still alive. And they hang him, but he's still
It's
alive.
still
And
going.
it's
It's
such a
crawl.
comedic scene, actually, in a way.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to kill him. And like I forgot it was like the cross that was around his neck, like
Yeah,
Cross
steel-
made of steel, yeah.
cross, yeah.
you know, steel cross that killed him, and I was just like, that's insane. But you get these such, like I said, it's so quirky, and I just never seen the concept before, so I really enjoyed it. I really was surprised that I would like it.
Hell yeah.
And Caroline Monroe like knocks it out of the park.
Dude, Caroline Monroe can get it in this
Get it.
film, man. Let's just be honest. She can get it in any film she's in, bruh.
Yeah,
Like automatically, it
Gorgeous.
bumps up a score at least 0.5 to 1 full you dig when just her being in the movie. Scarpad, you're a big aficionado of horror films, especially Hammer films and drive-in cinema. This is something that you were aware of from a very younger age, but this was your first time watching. What do you think about the film, bruh?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting. It's a different type of vampire movie. It's not really a monster movie from them or an adaptation of one. And I found out when we were watching this was directed by what's his name there? Same dude that did
Brian Clemens.
Brian Clemens that did the Avengers TV show.
Yep.
Which kind of makes sense because this did really feel to me like more almost of a television movie or a miniseries than really a theatrical movie from them. And it makes sense because he's a TV director.
And their idea was to spawn a franchise out of this, like a
Right.
series of films
They
and
wanted
a
to do like
TV
a
show.
trilogy or something.
Yeah, and it just didn't perform as well. They didn't do it. But I mean, yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff in this movie. I like it was very well built from a world building type of view. It's like the movie gets off and running, and we instantly find out about Kronos and the doctor. And it's like one of the first times a hunchback was actually a good guy in the movie, I think, which was interesting. And then we get Caroline Monroe for some of the almost sex scenes, but you don't really see much. But it's interesting because it builds that whole world and talking about all the vampires. It could be different. And it spends a lot of time doing that. But in between, we get a lot of swashbuckling. I didn't think the first fight was as good as the later fights, but I mean, it built a very interesting world. And I really dug it. I thought for 1974, this is the same year that they released that 7 Golden Vampires with the karate movie. So it was clear that like Hammer was trying to do something different at this point than their standard monster movies, because those are pretty much said and done by this point in the 70s. So yeah, I dug it as something very different from Hammer, and I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, it's probably a little too late. You know what I'm saying? Because Hammer kind of fell apart shortly after this, and there was so much potential there. And usually when we think of the greatest Hammer films, we think of the stuff from the late 50s or throughout the 60s and stuff. But the 70s has some golden moments, and Captain Kronos is one of those for me. So I'm glad you appreciated it. Dylan, first time watching this film. I'm glad I get to introduce you to a film this time around. What did you think about Captain Kronos?
Man, I actually I wasn't too sure about it. But I mean, I figured if you liked it, it had to be, at least watchable. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought Caroline Monroe was fine as hell in it. I thought the mythos was pretty cool. It had a lot of I was getting a lot of grim fairy tale vibes out of it too. Like the opening almost felt like some Hansel and Gretel type shit in a way. I don't know. It almost felt like he was like a different version of Van Helsing to me. But like their own version, Yeah. But I see, he's like the White Blade, just smoking weed, slaying women. He's like Blade mixed with James Bond or something, what I mean? But yeah, I thought it was really cool. I thought, the old lady who we think is old, wearing around that mask gave me some old school
do you love how Captain Kronos has to put the fucking mask to his face to realize it's a mask at the end? He's like, oh, it's a mask.
Oh, it's a mask. But the sword fights I thought were pretty cool. I thought he did pretty good, because at first I wasn't sure. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna really care for this guy as much. But like Scarphead said, they do a lot of world building, and I would, if they'd have done a trilogy of these, I'd have been watching part 2 as soon as we got done with this show, man, honestly. I thought they did a lot of good world building. The vampires were pretty cool, something a little different. But I definitely got a few mixtures of with his Igor version. it felt like, you know, Van Helsing mixed with Frankenstein put together. It felt like they collabed a few things, or, you know, mashed a few things together and created their own little world.
You gotta have a bunch of.
I thought it was really cool though, you know, and I really enjoyed that ending reveal with the. I knew something was up with that, with the mother and everything, and the doctor kept trying to see her, and she was like, no, like they're like, you killed our father or whatever. I knew there was something weird with that going on, because that bitch looked too frail, man, to be like getting out of bed, and you just couldn't really see her even talk. So it looked like something was like, I thought something was going on with the mom, like either the two children were like kind of leading everything, but you end up finding out it had nothing to do with it, you know. So it had a really nice twist to it, and yeah, I mean, I'd have, like I said, I definitely would have went for a sequel on this. I wish it would have got more, and I appreciate you showing this to me, man. I did enjoy it.
Well, I'm glad, man. I'm glad to hear that. And you and Scarpad have hit the nail on the head there. The world building that's done. And maybe that's to the detriment of the film, looking at it just as a single film, because it does build up a lot of lore and set up a lot of stuff that never gets brought up again, because we don't get the other sequels. We don't know what's up with the blind woman in the bar. We don't know why necessarily this dude was paying these people. Like, maybe this dude in that bar who paid those dudes to start shit with Captain Kronos was not hired by the Lord of whatever fucking village they're in. But like, the way I see it is like, there's a grudge there from before. And initially it was conceived as a time traveling monster hunter. That's why his name is Captain Kronos, right? And it was supposed to be like Doctor Who, but like a supernatural thing. Doctor Who meets Kolchak, right? Like that was kind of the idea they were going to go with. And then they were like, no, just in every movie, he's still going to be in the same time period, but different monsters, different lore, different things being built up, things about his history, his past, the war. I'm sure. I mean, this is something that is, you know, we for the most part, we don't usually like when they try to remake something, do something original. There's plenty of original ideas out there, but this is something that would be prime to reboot as a TV series or something like Supernatural done right. Could be Captain Kronos Vampire Hunter. Brooks, this was your first time watching it. I always get so nervous, especially after forcing you to watch 9 Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, 7 of which you absolutely hated. But what do you think about Captain Kronos Vampire Hunter?
Well, this is definitely a few steps up from the Texas Chainsaw franchise. And I was actually kind of looking forward to this movie just from the title alone. I was like, sounds interesting. And, you know, the fact that it's a Hammer movie, which I haven't actually, this is the first Hammer movie I've watched all the way through. Like, I've seen bits and pieces of some of the Hammer, like Frankenstein and Dracula stuff, but I've never watched one all the way through. So it was a fun movie. And the thing about the lead character in this movie, he reminded me of the character of Simon Belmont from Castlevania. And I know, like, those games are inspired by a lot of those old Hammer movies. So it feels like, you know, this dude could have played Simon Belmont if they ever made a Castlevania movie. And it's just a fun movie. It does feel like, you know, there's a lot of loose ends that don't get tied up. You know, it feels like, you know, there's more that was meant to be done. But overall, you know, it is just a fun movie about a vampire slaying dude.
Fuck yeah. Speaking of a fun movie about a weed smoking, woman slaying dude, Mike, what did you think about this film? First time watching this year.
Yes, first time watching it. I liked it. It was fun. There's so many things to say about it. A lot of stuff is subpar, but that's what makes the movie great. Some of the acting was there. You know, some of the shots and cinematography was there. But you know what? I didn't care. It was fun. And the thing about the mom laying in bed, at first I thought it was like a technical error, because I'm watching it and she's talking and her mouth's not moving at all. And it's just like, what's up with that?
Oh, so, you just think it's like poor special effects, right? You don't think it's a mask on her, right?
It's like, man, everybody's talking, but like you can tell it's dumb, but like she's like nuts.
It's such a weird stretch where they're like, you're like, we're watching the movie, we're like, oh, this is just bad special effects, it's just a mask. And then they're like, the twist is, it is a mask. You thought we were just being
a mask that like melts. Yeah, and it melts when she dies. I'm like, I don't get it.
and it's got one of my favorite bits that I've ever seen in a movie that I thought was funny. It was the bar fight when he's getting in. He's like, "I'll call you rat face, I'll call you fatty, I'll call you big mouth," like some terrible insults. But it was just so funny because like, "I'll call you rat face," and the bartender and the waitress are just like, "Duck," and then it's just like, "I'll call you fatty, duck," and then it's just like, "I'll call you, what was it, big mouth," and they're completely gone.
In
Like,
the 18th
that was-
century, that was some hardcore fucking slurring on someone, Ben.
I'd say he got him with that rat face.
Dude, that one dude was so hurt. His reaction, it was like, "Am I a rat face? Am I a rat face?"
There's the one dude he called fat. He wasn't even that fat. Like it was just because like all right.
In the 1800s in Central Europe, that's fat.
Bubonic plague fat.
I do like the idea of seeing him as a time traveling monster hunter. I think that would be cool. So I've noticed that I was looking up it today, and I noticed that Titan Comics is the one that owns it. So if it was a Dynamite property, I'd pitch the shit out of it.
You want me to call Nick up and see what he can do?
Well, I
there
guess
was
they
a
did-
comic book
Yeah,
series.
it was a sequel, I think.
Cool. Kind of like Buckaroo Banzai is like one of those movies that should have been developed more because there's so much world building in the movie that it almost causes people not to really appreciate the movie because of the amount of world building. And, you know, nowadays, think about how far ahead of its time things like Buckaroo Banzai and Captain Kronos was, because nowadays everything has got the idea of a sequel or a franchise being built up. And it's like kind of baked into the whole concept. Back then, it was not guaranteed, you know, not, like way less so than today. So, man, I am so glad that everybody has seemed to like this movie. And I feel like I have officially made up for Funhouse. So thank you all so much for being here. That was awesome. All right. Let's get into a great cast of characters. I remember, Dylan, you had my back on Funhouse. You came in specifically to back me up. Funhouse is a great film. And y'all didn't appreciate TCM 2, so I'm not surprised you didn't like Funhouse.
Anyway, it's a good movie, Funhouse.
Funhouse is great.
It's a piece of shit. It's okay.
You know what? I'm going to retroactively say that Funhouse is a 5, you digs. But so...
No, it's no Burial Ground. Come on. Not even close to Burial Ground.
There's a great cast of characters in the midst of all of the world building. And I could be an asshole and just go with who I think is the best. But honestly, I love all of these characters so much. I dare you to not mention somebody that I want to mention. So, Jelani, out of all the characters, all the performances, which one? What is the one you want to highlight first?
That's easy. Freaking Carla, Caroline Monroe, man, she was the best for me. First of all, looks wise, but second of all, she was quick witted.
Danced on a Sunday.
Danced on a Sunday. Yep. It's just she was just so fantastic in this role. Like I the whole reason, like I was watching it, but then like when she lifted her head when she was in the stocks and like she pulled her hair back and I was like, oh damn. Oh. And then the first thing I was like, oh, I've seen her before, but I don't know where. And it was bothering me for like half the movie. But like I mean, everyone in this cast is fantastic. I think even Sarah Jane from Doctor Who, Elizabeth Sadler, she passed away a while back in like 2011, but I think she's in this movie. She's the girl that was getting kissed.
That is her, yeah.
With the boyfriend. And it looked like her, and she's not credited in the.
That's Sarah Jane?
Yeah, Elizabeth Sladen.
Yeah. Bro, she could get it back then, man. Oh my!
She was
God.
always hot. Yeah. She was always my favorite Who girl.
She was always hot. Yeah, and
she's the one with the little dog, right?
No.
Oh
she's
yeah,
the little robot dog or whatever.
Yeah, she was with the robot dog.
Yeah, Canine.
Canine.
Yeah, she was with Tom Baker, and later with David Tennant. But
and John Pertwee. She was with
John Pertwee. That's right.
All right, let's not. Okay, it's getting a little bit too nerdy now. Let's.
But
oh fuck this movie. Let's talk Doctor Who.
But these are BBC people. These are all BBC people anyway. But Caroline Monroe is absolutely fantastic in this role. She should have like been on their adventure. She should have kept going, but she was just like, "And I love you," and it just,
dude,
she's awesome. she
That
could
fucking
totally get it.
moment where she's
You're
like,
right.
"I want to stay if you'll have me," and he just
If you'll
immediately
have
goes,
me.
Oh, I'll have you.
Oh, I'll have you.
I'll have you.
I'll have you.
At the end, he doesn't. He gets rid of her though. At the end, for the next adventure, though, pretty quick.
"Exactly,
Yeah.
it's got to be a
But then
different
it
hot
also
chick every
gets rid
movie."
of Carolyn Monroe when she's like 15 years old.
That's why Dylan nailed it when he said Bond, right? There's the
Yeah.
definitely Bond meets Van Helsing type thing going on here, where this is going to be
She's
a different Kronos girl every single movie,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Scarpad,
She's
what about
the
you?
best.
What's a performance you want to highlight?
I like the toads in the boxes. They put the toads in the box and they come up there alive.
If a vampire do betrothed upon the grave of a toad.
Yeah, there was so many good performances. I always thought the lead guy was Michael York from Logan's Run, but he looks his way. I would say my favorite person's going to be the humpback doctor there. I enjoyed his character. He was interesting. He wasn't your standard humpback trailing around like this or yes master type thing. They finally made a smarter man, and they even went into the whole differences, how people would make fun of him and stuff. But yeah, the doctor Gostin, I think was his name, or Ghostin.
Gross.
Grost. Yeah, he was probably my favorite character in the movie.
Played by John Cater. Yeah.
But there was a lot of characters, like one of my favorite shows back in the 60s, Jerry Anderson, the UFO, and the woman at the end, the mother, was played by Colonel Lake, who was one of the major characters of that show. So,
And also Benedict Cumberbatch's mother.
That's right. It is Benedict
Yeah.
Cumberbatch.
Yeah. By the way, spoilers, the villain is Doctor Strange's mom. So
Wow.
If you want to see some hot women in purple wigs, man, you gotta watch UFO. Hot moon women.
yeah, Grost is great, and I love that you mentioned the idea that they're inverting a lot of like tropes in this film, right? And I do believe that the writer director wasn't necessarily a horror fan, didn't really like the vampire stuff, but he watched all these vampire movies. He was like, they're all the same damn movie. Let me change it up a little bit, right? And that goes a long way, especially with the idea that the guy who has the deformity, who's usually the yes master, he's the brains of the operation. He's the whistler, right?
Yeah.
We got a dude who's helping the vampire hunter who has a physical affliction, right? Like it's all like, I'm telling you, there's some inspiration for Blade here, y'all.
Well, I think it helped that Brian Clemens, who's the director. You guys go back and watch like the older Avengers TV show. They were the plots were off the wall. They were very bizarre. So I think he was the perfect pick for this movie because they did a lot of this type of stuff on the Avengers. So
hell yeah,
it was done well. The director was also very good in this, I think.
I really appreciate your perspective tonight. Dylan, what about you? What's a performance you want to highlight?
I mean, it's easy to say Captain Kronos, but if I'm not gonna say him, it would probably be Carolyn Monroe, honestly, because she was
15.
Who I gotta say, she's not 15, really.
She's pretty young in this movie, yeah.
She looked pretty grown to me.
Maybe I give her like 18. 19.
She looked.
Yeah. I ain't
But,
mad at you, dog.
She was
I ain't
young
mad
when
at
she
you.
made Maniac, so she was young, man.
Really, but it's funny because she's bitching about the whole thing in the beginning of like while she's like, digging up dirt and shit, and she's like, why the fuck am I here? And then she starts to kind of figure out like who Kronos is because he's all mysterious, and then she's like, you get that classic line like, I'll stay if you'll have me.
Yeah,
Well, I'll have you, all right.
real quick, she was 23-ish during the filming
I
of this
knew
film.
it.
Okay.
I knew it. See, legal.
Yep. She can get it.
Trying to sit here and make
Especially
me
in
feel
72,
yo.
bad.
Yeah.
Dylan's
Well,
like
that's-
negative 20 when she's making this movie.
That's another interesting thing about this movie is even the characters said, like, we're doing all the work here. This guy's like always sleeping or taking a nap. They're doing everything, man. The guy needs a hunchback union because he busted his ass for Captain Kronos.
Yeah, he was good though. He was really good.
All right, so you're going to reiterate the Caroline Monroe thing, is what you're saying. But Kronos is good too.
No, I'd still stick with Carolyn Monroe, but Kronos was good. It's crazy that they dubbed him, like you said, like,
He had too thick of a German accent.
oh really?
So then they get a British guy to dub over him with a slight German accent. It's so ridiculous,
slight.
man. It's so ridiculous, but I like the voice. I can't imagine this without another voice, because if a vampire happens to betrothed upon the grave of a toad, what a weird. Anyway, I love the delivery.
They wanted you to be able to still understand. If I guess with that thick accent would have been too much.
Yeah, probably. And there was, we're talking about the 70s, early 70s, and there was a lot of still like hesitancy to really lean into like German leads and stuff because of, of course, everything that happened not too long before. And I think
the unpleasantness.
The unpleasantness with the Nazis and shit. But plus, I also do believe that the guy who played Captain Kronos was accused of being like a little bit of a sympathizer at some point before this, but then went above and beyond to like go beyond that and like was helping the victims or something like that. I don't know. I need to look deeper into that, so I don't really want to get too deep into it. But speaking of getting deep into it, Brooks, what's the performance you want to highlight, my man? And Clayton, it's good to see you, my sexy friend.
I really liked the it's like he's not. I wouldn't say he's like the villain. The dickhead who was basically paid to bully the hunchback, because he's like the guy who walks in the bar and like
Ian Hendry
humiliates this woman, and then like this dude sitting there, he's like, "You aren't laughing," and he makes him laugh. It's like he's set up to be like a rival for Captain Kronos, but then like he just gets like immediately like murked within seconds. Like I thought that was so funny because like I just love that, I like that scene a lot too, because it shows that Kronos is like a compassionate guy that like values his friend, even though back then a lot of people would have considered him to be like not just an invalid or whatever, but like probably like cursed or something like that. And it's just funny seeing this guy who's like set up to be this like total badass, and he just walks up on the lead and just gets immediately like just chopped down in like a fucking second. I love that.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, it's absolutely great. The character is Kiro or something like that, but played by Ian Hendry, and kind of like a little cameo appearance, and such a great voice, such a great douchebag character. And we all love seeing douchebags get what they deserve very quickly in these movies. You know what I'm saying? Mike, speaking of douchebags who get what they deserve, what do you think about performances? What do you want to highlight, man?
So, thanks there, Rat Face. I appreciate it. So I'm going to highlight one person real quick. It's the barman. His name is John Hollis. He was in Empire Strikes Back. He has an action figure made from him, and he is like will always be known for his character. So, but he was Lando's assistant. I cannot remember.
The robot guy. I knew
Robot. He's Lobot, and it's just like the dude with the bald dude with the head. Yeah, so like,
and that figure's like impossible to get. That's like the Grail.
Nah, it's easy to get.
Is it? I thought that was a hard one. I might be thinking of a different one.
The last 17 are the hard ones to find, but he's pretty easy to find. But I thought that was kind of cool that it was just kind of like, hey, this dude to play Lobot, and like he's like in the Star Wars card games, video games, like he's always like it's his image that we like such a small role in this film, but had a very, I guess, successful later. But the two, I kind of want to do a 2-for-1 real quick and talk about the siblings, the Paul and Sarah Dord.
I believe they were in the Partridge Family. I'm just kidding, but they look like they would fit right the fuck in. That one chick looks like the mom to me from the Partridge Family, man.
Yeah.
The sister. Yeah.
She's all like beauty and everything. I was like, nah.
She had probably the most character. She probably had the most character development out of the two of them because she was worried about becoming an old crone, and she kind of hated the word, and she didn't want to look like her mom. But like, well, her mom,
Mom was hot.
See her under that mask.
Was hot.
Just wearing a mask, keeping it hidden. So I thought it was fun that they had that little dynamic. At first, there for a while, I thought they were going to hook up. Like I didn't realize it's like, are they siblings or this is going to turn into something more?
Well, I think it is something
Yeah, but
more.
I think
It's
I watched
England.
the
It's
review.
England. It really doesn't matter. In England, it happens all the time.
I was gonna say I watched
So,
the video and they were
sweet
like,
inbreeding.
seemed like they were getting 2 seconds away
Do a
from.
little Games of Thrones
Did
action there,
you
kinda.
watch Brandon Colt movie's review of this,
Yeah.
man? Where he's like I don't mean to be weird, but it really does feel like it's about to become a porno right now,
Yeah.
man. Like what's going on? Now those
He
are some
even
good
said
highlights.
he even thought the brother and sister. He's like, I swear they were 2 seconds away from banging until
Yeah.
the reveal of their mom.
Yeah, even up to like she spoiled it, you know what was going on. All right, I'm really surprised that aside from a brief mention by Dylan, nobody mentioned Horst Jansen as Captain Kronos. Of course, Julian Holloway was the voice of Captain Kronos, but I like that performance. I think it's good. But the one that I do want to pick out is John Carson as Dr. Marcus. I love this dude's performance in this movie because
Yeah.
he plays that like straight guy and he's able to deliver ridiculous incongruities and still make it feel like it's like stable, right? So for instance, when Gross tells him it's vampires, he goes, no. And then he goes, everybody believes vampires just drink you your blood from your neck. And he goes, but it's true. And I'm like, wait a second, you just said vampires aren't real, but it's true. There's only one type of vampire, all that stuff. But his whole like, it's a trope in like these zombie movies and shit where someone gets bit and they don't like let the rest of the crew know what's going on. But I like the idea that he didn't really quite know. And as soon as he figures it out, he's like, kill my ass right now. But then his reaction to that whole bit where he gets stabbed, they stake him through the heart and he's just like, ah! But he's still alive. You see the pain and the anguish on his face. I love Marcus in this film. And when Kronos and Marcus first meet and they have that like moment where you're like, oh, shit's about to go down. And then they're like, Dylan, you son of a bitch. They do the Predator scene, bruh. It's the Predator scene, which I think was great. All right.
Even what's his name? The review we were just talking about.
Brandon,
he even
yeah.
said it. It's like, Marcus, you son of a bitch.
Exactly, man. That's a really great video. Y'all should check it out. What's up, Fable? How you doing, buddy? I see Fable now in the chat. He distracted me. Style and structure of this film. Style, I like. Now, Brian Clements had never directed before, never directed again, never directed a film after this, as far as I'm aware. Maybe Scarpad knows something I don't know, but I don't think he directed another film.
More of a writer, right?
Mostly
Yeah.
TV stuff.
Yeah, and so like I like the vision, I like the writing, I like the script, I like the ideas, the world building, as you were talking about, Dave, right? As Dylan was talking about as well. I really love all of that stuff, and I love the characters that are in this movie, and I love the hint at the backstory and the future story and all of that. I actually love the way that they portray daylight as being creepy. It's got that old school grim fairy tales-esque type vibe that Dylan was talking about, right? Where it kind of feels like a porno version of Hansel and Gretel. That's something else that Brandon said at the beginning of that video. But it's got that Hammer vibe and tone and feel, and it doesn't push the envelope as much as I would like it to, but it does have this like classy, almost gothic type sense, using the daylight, using it to massive effect. Great set dressings, cool choreography towards the end fight. That first fight, you're right, Scarpad, where he's fighting those, basically where he kills half of the town he's supposed to be protecting. Like that's when like it just doesn't look so great, right? But it does have some structural issues just because not having anything to add to this movie. No prequels, no sequels, nothing like that. Nothing to really flourish on this movie. There are bits that feel way out of place. As badass as that bar scene is, it doesn't do anything to advance the actual plot of this movie. What it's supposed to do is deepen a mystery and maybe set up something in the sequel, which we never got. So that kind of hinders it just a little bit for me. Otherwise, though, I love the style and for the most part, the structure of the film. What about you, Jelani? What do you think about the style and structure, Captain Kronos?
Yeah, I like the style of it. It does. It looks whatever time period it is, because you technically don't really know. I don't think they really state what the time period is. It's not old Victorian. It's probably right after it or something like that.
I think it's like the 18th century is what I think it is. Yeah, and I think that they were fighting in the. I think they were fighting in the war, the Napoleonic War.
Prussian,
is what I think.
Something like that. So, Yeah, and Captain Kronos has that scar on his side, which you're like, oh, what happened? I've seen your guts before. That's what the doctor was telling him too. I think that's why they're such good friends. He probably saved his life, and it's just there are a lot of things in it, like you said with the bar scene with the guys. Like they should have had more interaction with those guys, probably even at the beginning when they're going into the town and they bumped into these three assholes. I think they should have been introduced kind of there and then scared, in the bar scene where the main guy is like with the prostitute and throws the guinea into the spittoon. And it shows that they're assholes. But yeah, I think they should have been like throughout the movie as like henchmen. And I thought on top of that, like we were saying before, I thought the brother and sister would be more involved. I thought that they were the vampires. That would have been cool too. This just showed that these two, that it's a family that's just, killing people and just just murking folks for their beauty and looks because they're just so vain. The story is, like I said, it's shaky. It's got things going on with it that I'm just not too big on, but at the same time, a lot of things make up for it. And that's the style of this movie, the way it looks, the way the blood is portrayed, that bat. I don't know what it is. Like, did the doctor turn into the bat?
Yes.
Yeah. That's
And then he came back, and I'm like, that's
he was the conventional vampire in the movie.
Right. Like he got God and turned into a vampire. That's the other thing. I'm like, okay, so I guess they can turn other people into actual vampires.
Well, he was like covering for them too, so I think that there was like a thing where they're like, we're gonna make you one of us. Like maybe she has a thing for Dr. Marcus. I don't know,
Well, she
didn't know he was a vampire until he took a shave.
Yeah.
Take a shave first before his teeth came out.
And he saw his teeth and he's just like, oh God, kill me. I mean, I guess I did the same thing. Or I would just hide it from you guys for like a long time and
that would work.
You all went on.
You wouldn't be able to hide it from me.
I know, man. I know.
What about you, Scarpad? What do you think about the style and structure of the film?
This movie was all style. This movie was style, over structure. And because it was so cool, and because it was just a cool notion of the mix of swashbuckling and vampires, this movie succeeded because of style. All the scenes took place, almost the whole movie took place in the daytime for a vampire movie. And that is hard to pull off. And I think they really pulled it off pretty well. We just reviewed the other night, we reviewed The Howling, and that almost took place entirely in the daytime. It's tough to pull off those wood scenes that are menacing, but yet are in pure sunlight. So this movie's definitely all style. Structure, I think it definitely does fall down. I think all the stuff with Kronos is fantastic, even the bar scene that didn't make any sense. But whenever it cut to the main villains, the two kids and the mother, it didn't really. It was a very odd structure. I mean, they show her out in the daylight in a coach, then she's in bed. The way they cut back and forth to the kids really doesn't really figure into the plot all that much. I wish they had given them more to do. By the time the dead husband shows up, it's like, now who the fuck is this guy? We haven't seen those other people all that much. So yeah, I think it's all style, this movie, but I can love it for that.
Yeah.
And I can give it a high view and high rewatchability for that. Structure, not so much, but stuff, fantastic.
Absolutely. What about you, Dylan? What do you think about the style and structure?
Yeah, I think the style was definitely all there. I mean, like you said, like how you described the movie. I mean, it's a guy just smoking weed, slaying hot ass chicks, and killing vampires. But that's a big thing, that this movie takes place during the day, especially with vampires. A creature of the night. You know what I mean? As we know it, and they pull it off really well. And
it's mostly because Hammer Films did not know how to film nighttime.
Yeah, day for night is not. They don't know what to do with that.
Yeah, that makes sense because there are like no dark Hammer movies. They are all in like the daytime. But I think the movie does a really good job. I think some of those scenes are a little all over the place where you don't understand what this means to the story, but if we'd have got sequels, maybe that stuff would have got filled in, because it seems like they planned to get a trilogy, because back in the Hammer days, there was not really one-shot Hammer films. They had sequels, you know what I mean? So I think he probably had planned a whole trilogy, so some of those scenes that mean nothing to us now because we never got a sequel, that they might have got led into something with the trilogy. So I definitely agree. It's definitely more all style, but I thought the structure was pretty good. You know, a couple scenes though it didn't make sense, but I enjoyed the story, and I love like grim fairy tale movies, and this had so much of that thrown into it that I really did enjoy it for the most part.
It has a really good first act though. I will say that. Yeah. Like the introduction of like the vampires, the de-aging thing, the introduction of Kronos, them coming across Carla, and then the moment when Gross is like, "Oh, didn't we tell you we're vampire hunters, professional vampire hunters?" And it kind of kicks off, and it has a really great first 20 minutes in particular. Yeah. Brooks can get going for 20 minutes, and then afterwards he's just over. But for the most part, 20 minutes is all you need. Brooks, what do you think about the style and structure of this film?
I like movie style. I do feel though, like I think this movie's main weakness is how, like, you know, a lot of it feels like setup until the end. Like, and I would have liked if instead of, you know, doing some of the, like, you know, the unnecessary stuff, if they'd have had him, like, you know, confronting more vampires or other kind of like supernatural threats. Because you know, I do enjoy, you know, enjoy it for what it is. I would have liked to have seen Kronos, you know, do more fighting. You know, I would have liked to have seen more of these vampires that they're talking about. You know, these different kinds of vampires.
Hey, it'd be cool to start off with him. What if they started off with him fighting one? You know what I'm saying, or something like that.
Yeah,
like, do you love how, like, in the movie they make a point to be like, the dude's like, so you're just gonna like lay around and smoke weed, you know? And he's like,
to conserve his energy for the fight.
That's right. The butler did it all, and then when Carolyn Monroe needed to be there, she was there. So, well.
It's like, you know, it's just fucking doesn't interfere with his ability to fight vampires. But, like, you know, digging holes and shit, you know, that totally wear him out.
But he doesn't fuck the night before a vampire hunter. He just meditates with a bag over his fucking head or some shit. Like,
just give me an old-fashioned.
He's like Aaron Rodgers. Before I decide which football team I'm going to go to, I'm going to go and
it was daytime, so he was just putting the blinders on so he could sleep. Man.
Yeah, I mean, if he, I'm saying he would have been like Aaron Rodgers. He would like go into the fucking what do they call them? The tanks where the salt water and you like zone out.
Right. Sensory deprivation.
Sensory deprivation. That's what he's trying to do. Of course, he's got Caroline Monroe on his lap, so I don't know how much sensory deprivation is going to actually happen during that. But you liked it overall, Brooks, right? Yeah, hell yeah. What about you, Mike? What do you think about the style and the structure? You're a photographer. What do you think about the way it was shot?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was fine the way it was shot. The problem with this film is the editing and some of the storytelling. So, I mean, some of the scenes were fine. Like, I did like when when Marcus is on the horse. He's going through the forest, and then like it goes, his POV just goes into the black robe, and then when he comes, he just time warps out of the forest, and he's got the blood on his hand, and it's just But then again, like, what was that? So, and then another problem I had with the style and structure, I guess, was during the fight scene. Did they is stopping time part of this? Because like all the other family was standing still, and it was just Kronos and the dude.
No, the old lady put some sort of hex on them, supposedly.
Yeah, but like they never say that, and that happens. Like there's other times.
There's that one moment where Kronos or Grost mentions, I believe mesmerism is a part of this, and they were showing like with the close up of her eyes that she was like mesmerizing people.
Well, remember that scene where the Kronos went up to him with the sword, and he pointed the sword at her face, so she saw
he covered
her own eyes. That kind of broke her whatever she was doing, and the people came kind of alive.
Yeah, but like the kids were still even like she didn't mesmerize them. Like,
Well, they were just getting ready to fuck, so they were just staying to do that.
She did mesmerize them though, because when she introduces the dad back into him, then she actually says something, and she like.
Right.
She causes them to like
while
pause.
they're fighting, they're just like standing in the middle.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant by their parts are really kind of undefined.
They
doesn't make a lot of sense.
They're
underdeveloped.
Like those weird twins. They felt like two weird twins. You know what I mean? That they would add into like those Grimm movies, but I don't know. They're definitely at 2 seconds from banging.
Yeah, and then what's up with the bag? Like the dude, he's making the sword out of steel because it's the steel that that Marcus was. Like, I thought that was very clever the way that they shot that. It's just kind of like, stick to the heart. Nope, and then they kept the wound right there. I thought that was a little practical effect. And then like they hung him, and then it's eventually the steel, and then like pulling down the steel sword, the cross out of the cemetery. But I think I thought that was a little cool scene too. I mean, it was shot okay. I mean, it's a quick fight scene, so it could have been done a lot better. But I just like how he didn't kill anybody. He just disarmed them all because they're all still getting up. And like,
I'm pretty sure he fucking killed those dudes because I heard him be like, "Ugh."
They were still getting up. People were getting up.
I was kind of unclear. What did he do to the mother at the end? Because he kind of hit it with the sword. It almost looked like it was going to cut off her arm, but then she turned around. It was like they didn't.
That's another thing.
Sense.
That's another thing. Like the way some of the swords were done, it was just kind of like there's a slash and I realized that like even in the bar fight, like I realized that he cut the guy's neck, but when he pulls his sword out, he's like slash, and it's just like he just did 2 slices across the chest, and like never went across the neck, and it was just kind of like okay, he cut their throats. He's that fast.
Right.
So.
But what did he do with the mother? I'm not really sure. She just kind of fell over.
And then going back to the whole where he had the bag over his head, did he does he have vampire powers? Because like
he is maybe the original Daywalker because he has been bitten and he survived the bite, right? And there's that moment where like he's like, "Damn, Marcus, like I survived a vampire's bite," and the Gross is like, "He's not half the man you are." Right, but so maybe he does have some kind of element of something, bro. Like he smokes weed, he meditates, he bangs chicks, and he fucking fights vampires with a dude with a physical handicap as his fucking dude who does all of his work for him. It's Blade, man. This is fucking Blade, right? It's Blade.
Blade did come out of you. Well, I mean, that's the question. Blade came out in 73, and this was released in 74, but I don't know when it was shot.
Yeah, but Stephen Norrington and David Goyer, I bet, knew of this movie when they did the first Blade film. Because the Blade Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan created is not the Blade in that movie. Not yet. True. You know? This dude's wearing, like, green goggles and shit. He's got a wooden sword. Right? Yeah. So, I don't know. He's got, like, a Minecraft sword.
That's not our Blade.
Well, when did it? But he was but I'm saying, I wonder if they got the idea from like they could have got the idea for the Daywalker aspect of it from that.
Maybe, but the thing is, it's all just ideas that we're going to naturally formulate from vampire lore and mythology, right? All right. So the music in this film is done by Laurie Johnson. Not familiar with anything else that they have done except for one movie, Dr. Strangelove. Did the score for Dr. Strangelove, yo? How random is that? Laurie Johnson. So that's really cool and interesting. I love the music in this film. It gets me immediately like fired up when I hear that theme with the like dun 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 dun, and it's cool. And it would have been a totally cool like television show theme or like something that you would get in multiple movies. I think there's a lot of character in this film, and a lot of it is also provided by that soundtrack and score. What do you think about the music in the film, Jelani?
Yeah, I like it too. It's campy though. It's like but an upbeat kind of campy. Like you get the trumpets in it too. It's just it's typical like 70s fare for me. It is a character in the movie. It does move a lot of the story as well. I mean, I like it, but like I said, it's pretty campy. It's pithy, I should
Yeah.
say.
Gotcha. What about you, Scarpad? What do you think about the music?
No, I love the music in this movie. I think it really I think the soundtrack is one of the reasons, because it establishes that theme for him like right from the credits, and then it works it in a little bit during the movie. Whenever he's about to do anything. So yeah, the soundtrack I thought was great, and it kind of makes it into almost like a Three Musketeers. It's not it's not what you would expect in a movie titled about a vampire. It's more like Three Musketeers, and I think that's what made it interesting and good.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, Hammer was seeing something in the time. They were desperate. They were like, maybe we need to switch to horror action, because between this and the Legend of the Seven Golden Rings, that was definitely where they were veering into. Dylan, what do you think about the music in the film? And please lead on the rest of the panel. I got to dip out for just a second.
I got you. Yeah, I thought the music was good, though. I thought it went well for what the movie was trying to go with, especially it being more in the daytime and it, not being like focused on a straight monster creature, or like Dracula, like the Christopher Lee movies, or the Frankenstein movies. Like Scarp had said, I definitely would see more Three Musketeers, or yeah, I enjoyed it for the most part. I definitely thought it was good. And there was there was one scene though. I heard some music in it. I was like, dude, I've heard that music before. Something. I'd have to see the scene though. I feel like that there were snippets of this score stolen and used over the years. But Brooks, what did you think?
I like the soundtrack in this movie pretty good. It reminded me of those like old fantasy movies from back in the day, and this it suits this movie, because this movie kind of feels like one of those older fantasy movies in a lot of ways. It doesn't feel very much like a horror movie. Like even the vampires, they don't really feel like the horror kind of vampires. They feel more like like a Dungeons and Dragons style vampires in a way, I guess. And the soundtrack, it doesn't. It is very much in tune with the mood of this movie, so I think it works pretty well.
Yeah, definitely. Mike?
Yeah, I really didn't pay attention much to the sound. It sounded very generic, very like it's kind of like, oh, here's an action scene, high trumpets, it's like that. So it's very, very basic to me. But I was gonna say I didn't realize this guy did Dr. Strangelove, but he did do a few episodes of the Avengers, and that's one thing that I am noticing about this is that there's a lot of the actors, and a lot of the crew and production have did their fair share of work on the Avengers. So I'm pretty sure that's how they nailed this guy to do the work. I mean, it was like it was creepy when it needed to be creepy, and it was full on like action paced when it needed to be. It was fun. Like it didn't take away from the film, but it did definitely add to the terribleness that's so awesome.
All right, before we get into the rating of the film, we are the pop culture philosophers, and we like to dig a little bit deeper. You dig? You know what I'm saying? And we all like to dig in. So what is this movie speaking to you? What is the theme of this movie in your opinion? Jelani, what's it saying to you?
This is the first movie in a long time where I really don't get a theme other than like it doesn't feel like it has one to me, to be honest. It's just a guy who he gets summoned by his best friend to come kill some vampires. So don't kill vampires, or do kill vampires.
Duty and honor, then maybe
honor and duty. I mean, I couldn't see it, and I was thinking about it during the movie. Like, I've watched it several times, but I'm like, I just couldn't pull anything from it. I was
all right.
It's a great film, and it is honor and duty in a lot of ways. He's obligated to come and help, but that's all I got. This is the first time
you did allude to the honor and duty thing, and also alluded to another big theme in the movie, which is hey, 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 smoke weed every day. Scarpad,
right.
what about you? What's this movie speaking to you, my man?
That if you just smoke weed and bang Carolyn Monroe, you'll get some vampires. No, I mean it's not very deep. Yeah, it's kind of like the Three Musketeers meets the vampires. It's a series of adventures, set during wartime, where you get this bigger than life, colorful character, Dr. Kronos, who used to be a war hero, and now he's like become the ultimate man against pure evil. So it's just adventure. I was trying to think during this. Holy shit, it just came to me during the show. What the show reminded me of, and I don't know if you guys remember a show from like the late '90s that Bruce Campbell did, Jack of All Trades.
That's a great show.
That was a great show. Yeah.
I don't know. For some reason, this movie reminds me of that. I don't know why, because they had the same type of atmosphere where he was going around. I almost go like out after pirates and different things, and he's this big adventurer guy. I don't know. I get that kind of feel from this. It's just a adventure movie and a fun one. Really, it's not trying to say too much. It's trying to say that if you do your duty and your honor and you stay true to what you believe, you'll get hot women and kill some vampires.
and sword might drop on the vampires at the end.
Yeah, that's true. You probably needed a few more vampires in this movie.
I love how he's like, "Oh, I'll never come across this breed of vampire again. Never gonna have to make a steel cross sword again." Like, come on, bro. You might need that again, man. Come on, Dylan. Speaking of needing you again, I need you all the time. It's like that NXS song, right? Anyway, what do you think the movie's speaking, man? What's it saying to you?
Man, I'm so bad with these. And thankfully these guys kind of said that there's not as much of a theme, so I kind of get out of this one a little bit. Man,
I love how everybody thinks that this part of the show is like a book report in like fucking 6th grade or some shit.
You're just the man with this stuff, man. You're gonna come and you're gonna put us all to shame with this shit.
It's too hard, man. Too hard. I'm smoking weed over here. Cut me some slack.
You're like,
meditate.
I'm smoking my Chinese herb the whole time. No, so a lot of times it's easy. Sometimes it's harder though with some. You gotta. A lot of times you'll say something, I'll be like, damn, bro. Like, now it kind of opens it up for me, So that's why I love hearing your voice.
Well, that's why I love hearing all of our voices, right? Because we all pick up different things, right? Like you may have just picked up that this was a nice, fun movie about banging chicks and fucking smoking weed and killing vampires. And sometimes maybe that,
my mind.
I think the theme that you just told us this movie's about is live your best life.
Yeah,
that's what Captain Kronos is doing. Do you know what I'm saying?
Smoking weed, fucking hot ass chicks. I mean, dude's got some big ass blunts rolled up like the whole time.
They're long.
Those are like extendos, man.
Yeah.
And everybody else does is got the grunt work is left to a hunchback and a woman. So there you go.
He's got to save his strength. He's got to save his strength.
Maybe this movie's about the grift that the upper class, the aristocrats have, because I'm from very aristocratic stock. Remember that, where he's like, even the leeches will turn blue on me. All right, Brooks, I love you, my man. What's this movie speaking to you?
I think this movie says a lot about the dangers of vanity in a lot of ways. It's like the two children of the aristocratic woman. Like especially the daughter, she's all like, I can't even look at her because she has this fear of like seeing herself as an aged woman, and that's a kind of a thing in the vampire mythos too, is this idea of being able to steal the youth from other people to like preserve your own, that beautiful, but like it all turns you at the same time like. It may make your outer appearance better, but like you become a monster, you become a parasite, just constantly having to, prey on others. And, and it's like this idea that, this girl can't stand to look at her mother or even like, talk to her, try to comfort her in possibly her dying moments. I think says a lot about, the kind of values that people who have that kind of vanity, have.
Well done, Brooks.
See, Dylan, I'm not the only one, man. That's why we have Brooks around, man.
Hell yeah, that was good. As soon as he started talking about that too, I was like, "Fuck!" There was like the whole like trying to live forever part.
Yep, exactly.
Who wants to live forever?
It's also about living your best life, though, even if you're only
Living
living
your
for a short
best
amount of
life and looking good.
time. Hell yeah! What about you, Mike? Speaking of living your best life and looking good, you made some nice looking good cheeseburgers tonight that I definitely want to try. What do you think, my man? What's the movie saying to you?
Well, there's a scene in the bar, and the guy says the only people that come through this town are, deserters. And I think you're a deserter. And Captain Kronos is like, no, man. Like, I've won some battles. I've lost some battles. But I just keep going on. And that's kind of a nice way to look at life. Like, you win some, you lose some, but you don't give up. You keep moving forward. And it sucks sometimes, and defeat is hard, but it's not like you're a vampire or getting your throat slashed in a bar. So,
It could be worse. Your nose could be gushing blood.
or you could be crying blood.
Yeah, or you could be crying blood, or a little bit on your lip, and all of a sudden, exactly.
Blood could be dripping out of the corner of your mouth.
And one thing I will add is he says, because he goes, did you win more battles than you lost? He goes, I won some, I lost some, not enough of either. Like, that is the other thing, too. Like, not enough, meaning we're going to keep going, like you said. Right? Fuck yeah. Well put, Mike. Okay, to me, it's kind of like on point with what everybody said. It is about honor. It is about glory. It is about vanity. It is about the idea of stealing from others to uplift yourself. It is about the idea of, what did you say, Mike? It is about that idea.
Fight. You
continuing on another day.
Continue on another day. Yeah.
To me, it's about what stood out to me this time watching was it's about what happens when you can't let go of grief. Okay. So the actual villain of the film, the mother of the incestuous fucking siblings, right? The mother could not get over the death of her husband 7 years before. She held a grudge against Dr. Marcus. Maybe that's why she felt like she wanted to curse him over just stealing his youth, right? She turned him. The only one that she turned, aside from her husband who died of the plague 7 years before. When we first meet the son, he talks about this, and you get the idea that this is something that can't be let go. Scarp had mentioned you don't see this dude until he shows up at the end. Not really true, because I was really struck this time watching with how much we saw the statue of this dude and how much this statue actually looks like this guy, right? So it actually does kind of set it up for me at the end, but that's what it's about. It's about holding on to a past. And Brooks, you were there with the vanity part, but I think it goes a little bit deeper at times, where it's not just about holding on to youthful looks, but holding on to the vibe and feeling of youth. Life was better back then. Life was good then. Things were different. The government didn't do this. People didn't act this way. We didn't have social media. We didn't have all this shit. Now, this movie's not saying anything about social media, or maybe it is. And maybe Captain Kronos, if he is the time traveler, would have come into our day.
Captain Kronos is like, things were so much better before Twitter.
Exactly. But it does lead into this idea that we had a life that we liked. Something happened. Whether it's the death of a loved one, whether it's losing your beauty or your age, or losing a little bit of wit, or whatever it is, you're trying to hold on to the glory days. You're Al Bundy. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And all that's going to do is turn you into a monster, leeching off of the energy of others. Because when others are trying to talk about now and move fucking forward, like Captain Kronos, like Mike said, you're busy stealing their energy, reliving your glory days, trying to hold on to something that no longer exists. Does that make sense?
Good grief, man.
Dylan, what'd you think about that?
You fucking nailed it, as always.
All right, time to rate the film.
You out
there in the chat. I know a lot of y'all watched this for the first time. Not you, Two Gun. I know that Two Gun is my Captain Kronos brother. Thank you so much for the t-shirt. But what do you out there in the chat give this film out of 5 possible you digs? Jelani, for the panel, why don't you kick us off?
I like this movie a lot. This is a decent Hammer film. It's rewatchable. In fact, I've been playing it in the background while we've been doing this. It's pretty decent. I'm gonna give this one a 4. It's pretty solid. Yeah, Caroline Munro she's too smoking, man. I'm sorry. I'll keep talking about her all day, man. She's just absolutely smoking, and like from her beginning all the way to the end, I'm just like, yep, this is the film. And like all the fighting is cool, and all the other stuff happens, but she's just Jesus wept. Jeez.
Yeah, Jesus wept. That's what Clive Barker was thinking about when he wrote that shit down. I'm sure it was Caroline Munro.
Mm-hmm.
Look at this movie, man.
Yeah,
oh
dude.
my goodness. And she's so dirty. She's got tomatoes in her hair. Anyway, moving on. Before you digs from Jelani. What about you, Scarpad? What do you rate this film?
Well, I'd have to say this movie really was about one, topless hot tub scene away from really being a 4. If they'd had that topless hot tub scene, this would have been a 4 for me, but could have used a little bit more nudity. But it was an excellent movie, and because of that, I'm only going to dock him a quarter of a hot tub scene and give it a 3.75.
All right, we don't allow 0.75s here, but you can give it a 3.69.
I will give it a 3.69.
Okay. All right, this is a different show, brother. Then it's either 0.5 or point something 69.
It's going to end up at 69 at the end anyway, so let's go there.
Ghoulies, they'll get you in the end. Hell yeah, 3.69 from Scarpad. We'll round that up to a 3.769.
More boobs.
So, there you go. How about whatever? Fuck it. 3.4. Fuck it. Whatever. Close enough. Dylan, what do you think about this film? What do you rate it?
I really did enjoy it, man. It's definitely one I will be rewatching. It's definitely one I would like to pick up one day on physical. So that definitely says something. It's a very enjoyable Hammer film, and it's a unique idea, and you can definitely see where it some things that maybe were inspired by it, like we said, Blade, and how this kind of took a few things that were what is this? 15 years.
She was in her 20s.
I still want to think she was 15. Leave her alone.
Oh, shut up. Oh, come on, man.
In the crap, man.
That's gross.
But I enjoyed it a lot more because I know you weren't sure if I was gonna like it, but I think watching Bond recently too made me think. I was like, he's like fucking Bond mixed with who did I say Bond mixed with? What did I say? Van Helsing, I think.
Van Helsing or Blade or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I liked it, man. I thought a great cast all around. Few things that kind of left the story, struggling a little bit, but that bar scene, even though it really had nothing to do with the plot, that bar scene was awesome. Oh, you're good. I ain't tripping, but I give it's almost a 4. It's almost a 4. It's missing Caroline getting naked,
Never happened. Not to break your heart too much, but never happened.
Trust me, I know. I just saw her in James Bond and nothing in that either. But I think I can't, because I would probably go 3.75 as well, because it's just a little below 4. Because I really did enjoy it, world building and everything. I think because Hammer is getting a relaunch in today's world. It's still getting. I mean, we haven't gotten with the strike and everything, but. They brought Hammer back, so this is ripe for a relaunch. You know what I mean? And if we could get a sweet trilogy out of this, I depending on how it does, I'd like to see it maybe more back in the day than now, because they have a tendency to ruin shit nowadays. But we'll see. Maybe it'll get a remake. But I'll go 3.69.
All right, I was about to say we don't allow 3.75s here, but
I know,
okay,
I know.
that's fine. You could do a 3.7469 if you really wanted to, and that would round up to it. Doesn't matter. Anyway, Brooks, Captain Kronos, Vampire Hunter, what do you rate it?
I'd probably give this one a 4. It is like, I have a feeling like if they'd have made like a good sequel to this movie and done it right, it would probably be a 5. But
Yeah.
I think the weaknesses of the movie, is like, that it has a lot of buildup that goes nowhere. But it makes up for it just in pure heart. Like this movie, it is a fun movie, and it's got a good, decent soundtrack, good cast. It's definitely lifted my spirits after the whole Texas Chainsaw debacle.
Yeah, Brooks came up to me at the shop, Dylan and Scarpad. He came up to me at the shop, and I was like, "What do you think?" And he goes, "I love the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The second, the third, and the fourth suck." And I was
The
just
second, the
It's so
second,
wrong, man.
no,
It's so
Chop
wrong.
Top is so
They'll
good.
suck.
He's
Oh,
the
yeah, bro, you
worst
should have been there.
character.
Man.
You would have been proud of me. You would have been proud of me and Verno and
Chop Top
fucking
is trash.
Joe, because we loved part 2. But these fucking two numbskulls were
Thanks.
fucking talking major shit, man.
Oh my
Why
god,
I oughta.
I love to.
Tell me a
Love
numbskull.
to.
Yeah.
What about you, Mike? What do you give Captain Kronos?
I don't understand why this movie is rated R, but then again,
It is.
the
I
censor
thought it was PG-13.
Blood.
Yeah, no titties. Not
yeah,
much
no
violence.
That's what I'm saying. That's why.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even
The whole-
Blood.
even Texas Chainsaw Massacre, all the gore was done off screen. So, and it was an R.
There
But,
was
like,
no
this was an
PG
R.
back in the day, or no
It's
PG-13.
because
I
of
should say.
supernatural
You're
elements,
right.
probably.
Yeah, there was no PG-13, and the supernatural stuff and the sexiness of it. Like, I think it in the I understand why. I think for its time.
So this would have definitely easily been a PG-13 in
Yeah.
modern day. So, but man, it's not the end of the world that we didn't see her naked. So, like, that's not going to affect the quality of the film. So I give it a 4 because it's solid.
All right, a 4 because it's solid. I'm going to agree with Brooks and Mike and Jelani and give it a 4. As much as I love this film, and I do think a 4 is a very fair assessment of this film because, like Brooks was saying, like we've all been saying tonight, there's just so much that's built up that's not delivered on necessarily because it doesn't, and it's not necessarily the fault of this movie that it didn't do so well, but maybe it is. Maybe it is because it got a little stunted at times in certain action scenes. Maybe it's because it didn't quite structure itself right. Maybe it's because it wasn't focused on just making a good movie while world building at the same time. But I do think it's a great movie. I think it's super solid, great performances, great messages, and great music throughout. So I'm going to give it a 4, a very enthusiastic 4. And out there in the chat, I saw that we had a couple of ratings. We got Bobby gave it 4 you digs and a Reggie Blunt because that's what Captain Kronos is smoking back in 1796 or whatever. It's definitely some Reggie shit. Two Gun Pedro says, I don't care what y'all say. 4.5 you digs. Ain't nothing wrong with that. So 4 from me, Jelani, Mike, and from Brooks, and a 3.69 from the horror connoisseurs, Scarpad and Dylan from Dylan's Horror Show, for a PCP average of 3.86694 69, dudes. I love how that works out. Pretty much rounding up to a 4 you digs, but it's a really great movie. If you haven't watched it, check it out. Thus concludes our movie review for Captain Kronos Vampire Hunter, but Horrorfest is not over. In fact, we're just getting started. We're in week 2 right now of a massive event. Over 50 movies discussed across 3 channels, over 30 shows. It continues on Thursday night. I will be on Blood Splatter Chatter to talk about Sisters from Brian De Palma. And then Saturday night, I will be on Dylan's Horror Show for Prey. Never seen this movie. Very excited. But next week here on PCP Movie Night, y'all, I'm so excited for this. We're talking about Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. We got the best lineup we've ever had this year across all these channels. Some great movies to talk about, to discuss. Thank you so much, PCP Army, for being a part of this. Thank you so much, you Dylan Knights. Thank you so much, you BCS heads. We really do appreciate everything, us horror nuts. Jelani, thank you for being here. Final thoughts, my man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. This is a great movie to discuss, man. It's been a good horror fest so far, even with Texas Chainsaw. No, nonsense. I mean, because good grief. Oh my goodness, it was just a pile
It
of
makes
good
you
shit
appreciate
movie.
Hellraiser a
But
little bit more, doesn't it?
It does. Well, not really, because Hellraiser has some shit too. But and this is the weakest of the two. I'd say Texas Chainsaw is weaker of Hellraiser. Hellraiser does kind of save a little bit. But anyhow, Brooks and I have a channel, Go Figure Reviews. We are doing stuff and things. We did the Doctor Doom and Captain Marvel 2-pack set.
That was fun.
And yeah, it was
I had to
alright.
do my Doom impression throughout the whole thing.
And it's a decent Doom, so you guys should check that out. We also did the Rogue Outback X-Men style. She's like the green suit. Everybody likes her in the bomber jacket for the Jim Lee style, but this is the different one where she's in the Australian Outback with the other X-Men doing X-Men stuff. So yeah, check out our videos. We were at 263 subscribers, 65 subscribers now. I forgot.
Somebody throw a link out in the chat so that we can sub up.
Yeah, sub up, guys. Thanks a lot for the people that have subbed up. So we really appreciate it. And yeah, thanks a lot. That's it. Glad to be here. And I can't wait to do this. And of course, smoke weed every day. Of course.
And Elvira next week. Two Guns already watched it. So he's already like on board. He's probably ahead of all of us right now. Scarpad, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your perspective tonight on this film. We need your final thoughts, Scarpad. What you got?
Well, thank you for having me, and it was fun. I always love coming in and talking these 70s horror movies. You know me, I love the old shit. And well, thank Two Gun Pedro too before we go, because he sent me this copy of Captain Kronos, so I could watch it. So thank you very much, Two Gun. I appreciate that. And other than that, yeah, I love these movies. I've been looking forward to doing Dracula in a couple weeks down the road. And as far as what we got coming up, we just dropped on my channel. I dropped a video in the James Bond franchise we just did From Rush with Love. It dropped on my channel, Dylan's channel, and then next week we're doing Goldfinger. So look out for Goldfinger coming this week, and it's fun. So watch that.
Yeah, what makes Horrorfest better? Also going through the James Bond franchise. That's pretty fucking cool. Dylan, thank you so much for being here, man. It's not a Horrorfest without you here on the channel, on the panel, and I cannot wait to have you back again. Why don't you tell us your final thoughts? What you got coming up?
Yeah, man, it's good to be on. It's been too long for sure. But yeah, I cannot wait to come back on for Dracula. That'll be a great talk, because we love our Universal monsters. That's one thing that me and you, that's how we fell in love.
It is
our love for the classics. Yeah, I can't wait for you to come on for Prey next week. I'm surprised you haven't seen it, dude. What up, Fable? Yeah, that's gonna be a fun one, dude. I think you'll appreciate that one, man. I think you will. I think you'll dig that one.
I'm looking forward to watching.
You like that Hulu Hellraiser movie, didn't you?
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah. Well, that it's. I think it's same type of company. I think it's that Hulu Fox deal that from Disney, but I fuck with that movie, man. That was really good, and I think I hope you enjoy it. It's I told you it has like two different versions. It actually has like a Comanche version, but yeah, I might watch that tonight, man. But dude, thanks again for showing me this. I think that I asked for Dracula, and I'm glad you threw me on this, because I wasn't sure what the hell this was, but I really did enjoy it, man. So thanks for showing me a good one, man.
Fuck yeah, dude. Thank you so much for being here. Brooks, final thoughts, man, and thank you for being here.
Oh yeah, man. Well, it's like Captain Kronos always says. Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Mike, I love you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the dill sauce, dill dip, whatever it was you made for my burger last night. It worked out really, really great. So thank you so much. And final thoughts.
3 simple ingredients: Greek yogurt, dill, bell pepper. Mix it together. I am pretty sure I will be back next week for Elvira, so I will have some watching to do.
You got the VHS of Elvira?
Yeah.
Bro, you've given me all these VHSs, but you have that one? You've been hoarding that back? What?
Yeah.
Bruh.
Dick and
That's
Dots
the way to
video.
watch it, man.
Dick and Dots video.
Yeah.
Proper Dick and Dots.
Oh my God. That's so
Oh,
fucking cool.
All we know is Dick made Dot. Dot got
Wow.
Dick and made a video store.
Dude, that's way
You
too
got a
cool,
tube-
man.
You got a tube TV and a VHS player to watch that?
I got a VHS player, but I don't have the CRT now.
Yeah, Scarp had just got himself a tube TV for like $30. Lucky.
Also, I didn't rewind it, so
But he
Oh,
almost
you
killed
heathen.
himself.
You're not be kind.
Yeah.
Don't be
You gotta be
lying.
kind, man.
That's gonna be a 25-cent upcharge.
Huh. Everybody go and follow Mike06, by the way, on Instagram if you like great photography. I'll just throw that out there.
thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to do that one. The movie is available here on YouTube for free with commercials. If you haven't seen it and you want to watch it,
Yeah,
So-
I think it's on Tubi as well.
Yeah. Or get the Scream Factory Blu-ray. It's worth it.
No, Arrow.
I just gotta find my.
Is it
VHS.
Arrow?
Scream Factory.
It is Arrow.
did,
Scream Factory did Haunted Hills. You're
Yeah,
right.
they did Haunted
Yeah.
Hills. Which I was actually gonna do that this year, but
Would've been a great double feature, man.
Haunted Hills.
Would have been a great double feature, but it leaves us an Elvira movie to do in the future. Mike, thank you for being here. Panel, thank you for being here. I really do appreciate everybody. Once again, Horrorfest is not over. It continues on. We are just getting started. Join me. I'm on all these shows this week, y'all. Join me for Blood Splatter Chatter Sisters. Never seen this. Very excited to check it out. On Dylan's Horror Show Saturday, Prey. Very excited to check that out. I've been wanting to watch it since. And Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. One of my favorite movies from 8 years old and up, maybe. Like I just adore this movie. And I cannot wait to talk about it. The only thing that would make it better is if we had Cassandra Peterson here. She won't be here, but we have a great panel next week, including Jelani, Brooks, Mike, and Fable. Fable will be here as well for Elvira, as well as our main man, Perry himself. So it's going to be a great panel talking about Elvira, Mistress in the Dark. Y'all, we love you. We're in Horrorfest, y'all. You know how much we love this shit. So station and pop. Boo.